the steps or the signs that you go through before you have an energetic upgrade. And it's not what you think. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Roaming Collective podcast. I'm Trisha. I'm the host. I'm also the founder of the Roaming Collective. I'm a certified human design reader and an intuitive. And so every Thursday here we gather, we meet, I share different topics that's going on, anything that I felt like this community really needs to hear during that time. And so on that note, a little bit of a scheduling update. Well, I will be taking a short break from the podcast. It'll be about a month or so. I just have a lot of travel coming up. I have a lot of weddings. I'm going to go meet my new little niece. And so there's just so much of exciting things that are happening. I'm just feeling like I need to take a little bit of a break in that time. And you know what? I feel like any time that you take a break, sometimes you get so much more insight. And especially when you're traveling, you're in different places. I'm excited to be able to take that time to absorb a lot. And then I'll be able to come back and share it all with you guys. We'll be taking a minor break. It'll be about a month or so. And so I'll be back towards the end of September with new episodes. But that time will be a perfect time to go back through and to binge and just listen to all the other past episodes. So if you've missed any, that'll be a great time to go back and listen to all of them back through. I'm excited to be able to take a little bit of a break and I'll be able to come back and share everything. And you know, I live for a synchronicity, and I had one that happened to me recently. I think I'm just about to start sharing these at the beginning of the podcast because I just feel like there's so many synchronicities that keep happening. And I feel like when I give examples of these, then they can help you to look into your own life of maybe tapping into more of your own signs, more of your own synchronicities. And sometimes a sign or synchronicity, it makes sense to you personally. So that's the whole point. It's meant for something for you to click the dots on and for you to get a message that you need in that exact moment that you need it. And so a crazy synchronicity that I had yesterday, I was on the way to go get dinner with a friend, and on the way I saw a license plate and it said luck and then E, the letter E, but it was lucky. And I was interesting. Then I keep driving. I go to dinner, and then for some reason, my intuition told me to go to Casa de Luz. And so if you live in Austin, or if you're not in Austin, I love Casa de Luz. I'm there all the time. It's essentially this really cool space where they have organic food there that you can go and eat and have a meal, but they also have an alchemy juice place. They have Ayurveda. They have people doing Reiki. They have a thought house. They do different classes with yoga and meditation and all that. All of that is in this really cool space, and it's just beautiful there. They have so many trees, and it's just such a grounding space. I'm there at least once a week. When I was at dinner, I was down the street from there, and so my intuition was just oh, I'm gonna actually go into there because I was gonna go for a walk. I go in and I see that this girl had her little sign up, and so she was doing some Reiki readings. She was doing some different things, and so I was reading her sign, and I happened to walk past her because she was walking her dog, and she was oh, were you just looking at my sign? And I was oh, yeah. And we get to chatting, and she's oh, what's your name? I'm oh, my name's Trisha. She's oh, my name's Patricia. And I was oh, that's actually really funny because my true name is Patricia, but I go by Trisha. We were talking because it's so funny when you meet with someone who has a similar name as you, especially with Patricia, because I feel it's maybe not as common as some other names. She told me during that, she's yeah, Patricia means noble woman. And I was oh, interesting. I was how do I know that word? I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. We were just chatting, and she was asking me oh, a little bit about my history. She's okay, when did you move to Austin and everything? And I told her, I was oh, well, I was living in Chicago before this. And she's no way, I used to live in Chicago on and off since the 80s. I was oh my gosh, where did you live at in Chicago? And she's oh, I lived in Lakeview. I was wait, me too. She told me her roads, and it turns out that we were there at the exact same time. So I lived there from 2018 to 2024. And so she was there, it was 2020 to 2024. That was her next stint because she had come back and forth between Austin and Chicago. It turns out that she lived right next to one of my college friends. I remember because I went to go and I toured that apartment for him because he wasn't living in Chicago yet. So I was I'll go tour it for you. I was that is just so crazy that we probably could have crossed paths in Chicago and not even known. She was literally living right next door to my friend at the exact same time. And what's so funny too is how this thread that keeps happening, how someone who I used to go to college with then moved to Chicago, and then now it's a synchronicity for this person who's now in my life in Austin. And it's just so funny because this happened again last weekend where I had a similar situation with a college friend and their roommate. And I was still talking to her, and she told me, she's yeah, I actually know the owners of Tango Sir. And I was like, no way. I was like, I was at that restaurant all the time in Chicago because I lived right down the street from it. It's one of my favorite restaurants. So if you were ever in Chicago, highly recommend to go to Tango Sir. It's this Argentinian steakhouse and it is so good. But I was like, wow, how crazy that we were probably in the same orbit in Chicago and didn't even cross paths. Like, talk about divine timing where I just happened to talk to her at Casa. Like, if she wasn't right there, like, we wouldn't have been able to chat because she wasn't even at her area where I was looking at her sign. It was like she was a little bit up on the path. And so she just happened to notice me. Afterwards, we had chatted and everything. I went for a walk around the trail. And as I was getting back from my trail walk, it was doing like this weird rain where it was like still sunny, but then the rain was starting to kind of come down and then a rainbow, like a faint one, started to pop up. And I was like, wow, it was just so cool because it was like bright skies, it looked blue skies. There's just like a little rain cloud and just a little bit of rain. I feel like it almost tied back to like that license plate earlier of just being lucky because I feel like rainbow is a sign of luck. And I think that was just like a huge message I needed to get at that time. And just to remind myself that like I am on the right path and I'm on the right time. And sometimes I share these messages with you guys, but sometimes I also need the reminder as well in my own life. It was just such like a fun little synchronicity. And then when I got home, I was like, why does the word noble, like it kept sticking with me. I was like, why does the word noble keep coming through? And then I totally remembered, because I'd shared this a couple episodes ago, that when I was walking past a little library, I had found this book called The Art of Attracting Clients. And in there was this like note in there from a child's book report. And I remembered that was the title of that book that she had wrote about was The Courage of Sarah Noble. Wow. How crazy that like someone had told me that the name Patricia means noble woman. And then here was this book report that I found like a month and a half ago with the word noble in it. So I was like, okay, there's something that I need to have like a little bit of a sign into that. Again, I share these synchronicities because they're just fun. Like I live for a sign. Again, I just think it's so cool to be able to see all these things kind of like line up and to find these in your own life, because I promise you there are signs of synchronicities happening. It's just to be more aware and in tune and to be very present. Okay, that's the goal there. Be present in the moment and you will know if it's a sign. Your body will know. It'll feel like you need to pay attention in this moment. It'll just feel like oh my gosh, this is it. This is the moment. Also, what I love about sign synchronicities, there are just so many out there. And I think sometimes when we get into our minds, at least for me, I'm very much always get into my mind of some limiting beliefs, some self-doubt, some self-critical. I can be very hard on myself. When I almost have these kind of get me back into like that trusting mode again, because sometimes I feel like my mind wants to really like pull me back in of like, we need to figure this out. I need to have an answer right now. I need to feel certain about it. When these little signs start to happening, I'm like, oh, I actually am already on the path. I don't really need to try so hard because everything's already unfolding at the exact time that it needs to happen. So if you have any little of these sign synchronicities, please comment them below. Please send them to me, share them within the community because I love to hear everyone's signs and stories. I just think that they're so fun and magical. What I really want to talk about today, I really want to share the steps or the signs that you go through before you have an energetic upgrade. And it's not what you think. Sometimes you think that it's going to be so exciting and everything's just going to click. Sometimes it goes in waves. And so I'm going to share because I think that I'm going through one right now and I'm going to take you along this process. And I think partly why I'm wanting to take a break is because of something that's trying to come through. Here's some of the ways of like an energetic upgrade. And so the way that this looks is sometimes when we are starting to move into a new phase of life. And so it can look in so many different areas. It can be if you are in career, your health, your relationships, just you personally. Like there's so many energetic ways that we can up level and we can change and we can grow. So think of these energetic upgrades as like a way to grow and expand. They're just a way that you are changing your viewpoint. You're just changing some paths in life, but in a way that is exciting. You're calling in new things and you're being more expanded. And sometimes the expansion brings a little bit of contraction in the beginning because you're releasing stuff, anything that's feeling heavy, anything that is not meant to come with you into this new chapter needs to be shed, because sometimes we're carrying these like baggage. Sometimes we have old friendships, people in our lives that maybe are no longer in alignment. Sometimes we have any thoughts that are going a little out of control. Sometimes we have different things that are just kind of like coming through that are just feeling heavy. And sometimes those can't come with us into the new chapter, because in order to call in more of that, you might need to release some of it. So then you can have this space to welcome it in. And sometimes it feels a little backwards, right? It's like, why am I releasing stuff to then call more in? But it's because to get to that version of you that's going to have it, there's going to need to be a little bit of adjustment to get to that time. I was feeling really good in July, and there was still kind of a mix of like, I was starting to feel more of that inward pull again. And I was like, okay, it was kind of like subtly happening in the background. And I was like, all right, I feel like something's going to be coming up where I'm going to be requiring more rest. And so that is like the number one sign. I always feel like anytime you are feeling very tired, or you feel like your energy is just low, you're just feeling like you just don't really feel like you want to go and do anything, that is usually a sign that you are being ready to be up-leveled, because your body needs to release a lot of this stuff, and it takes a lot of energy and it takes so much effort, especially sometimes this stuff is happening in our subconscious or just in our energetics in our body, because we all have a universal life force energy. When that's moving through us, that is also requiring some energy to be absorbed. And so sometimes that'll come out as like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so tired. Like I'm just needing a lot of rest. And so it's always a large sign, is when you're needing to just really be more inward. Sometimes you just want to lay on the couch. Sometimes you just want to sleep in. You might be requiring actually more sleep. Anytime that you're needing more rest, I'm always like, okay, this is just an invitation. I know something's wanting to come through for me. I just need to allow myself to receive the rest. Sometimes it can feel very scary to let go of that, to be, and especially in our culture, which I've said so many times, we are in such a hustle culture where it's go get things done. It's a very much in a masculine mindset. And remember, masculine and feminine, those are more so just frequencies. That's just like an energy. Masculine is like wanting to go and do and to challenge, just be like action and run around here, go here, like push, push, push. That is like a masculine mindset. And a feminine, it's more of that receiving mode where it's more just allowing, going with the flow, just like relaxing and just letting it kind of filter through. I have been, another major sort of realization that I've had is I've very much been in that masculine energy for a while. And so that receiving is definitely a muscle that I'm learning to really lean into and to allow it to come through and to trust that and to take a step back. And sometimes things don't have to be so hard. We don't have to force to get things. Things are allowed to be easy. They're allowed to just flow. They're allowed to just click, especially when you are staying in alignment, when you were following and what feels true for you and you're listening to your intuition. That's it. It could be so simple. Sometimes our minds and our stories and everything gets so involved of like, but I need to be doing this to be achieving this. And then that happens. And listen, anything can happen at any time. Okay. There's so much that can happen within any moment. So just tapping into that, and that'll allow more of that receiving and that rest to come through, that you just have to trust more of that timing and just being able to trust some of like what's trying to come through. Having more of like that restful side is usually a sign. And I was kind of feeling that a little bit in the background. But what's so funny is because in July, I finally felt like on one of these days, I had my full generator battery back. And so if you were curious about your energy type, it's in human design. And I love human design. Of course, I'm certified in it. So I definitely am like, I feel like a lot of that stuff really resonated true for me, because it's, again, showing you your energy type and how to work with it. And I feel like a lot of these other modalities, they're great, but I felt like for my energy, it just really made so much more sense, because I felt like I was like, why are things feeling like they're not resonating as much? If you're curious about what your human design type is, you can go into my website, theromancollective.com, and then you could go and you can get your free charts and you can find out what your energy type is. And so there's 5 different ones. And I actually do an episode. I have 2. So I have one that's episode 2 that's all about human design. And then I also have Leah on, which is where I got certified in human design. She also came on the podcast to chat a little bit more about human design. So just a little side note, if you're like, I want to know more about that, check out those episodes as we're on this little break too. I am a generator in human design. I'm a sacral generator. So that means that I have to follow my gut feelings to make decisions. I'm a generator energy type. So I'm meant to follow what lights me up. So how generators work, it's like you get a full battery for the entire days. It's like you wake up and you have like your generator battery and you're like, okay, I feel like wake up and I start the day. And so the goal really is to start with what makes you feel so excited, because then that translate the rest of the day. So that day I woke up and I was like, I just really want to go for a walk through Town Lake. And so I was like, okay, I've been like channeling stuff that's been coming through creatively. And I usually do my best work when I am actually out moving my body. And again, there's times to rest, there's times where I need to like sit down and plan, but really to get stuff creatively, I really have to be out moving my body. I need to be out in different spaces. I need to be like absorbing my environment and having things to respond to, and also just moving my body. I feel like that helps move the creativity through, where sometimes I feel like if I'm just sitting, it feels stagnant for me. If you're a generator, and especially a sacral generator, because that means that you are led by your sacral center, which is our creativity center. And that is where our life force energy lies. And so that is a very much a body-based type of design. I was walking and I was being able to like channel all this that was coming through. And I was just like, wow, feeling so excited. And then I had like a call. Then afterwards, I had a gathering for my business. And it was so great because I ended up having close to 10 people at that gathering, which I was so happy about. And we actually had to switch up our idea a little bit because we were supposed to do on a boat and there were some water bans. And so the night before, our boat got canceled. And so I was like, this is what is so common in events. This is something that you just anticipate and expect. I'm like, okay, I already had a backup plan because I had a feeling this is going to happen. But it actually ended up being perfect. I feel like everyone there was so meant to meet. And honestly, two of the girls who actually met there are now going and doing events on their own. So they're actually building their own friendship, which is the whole goal of this, right? This is the whole goal of my curated gatherings, is to be able to bring people together and to foster those friendships that are happening. And so that entire day, I, walked on the trail. I was having just like so many creative downloads. I had like a work call, and then I was able to go for my curated gathering, and I was like, gosh, like from 7 to like 9 p.m. And I didn't feel tired. Again, I did take my little nap because I've learned my lesson, where sometimes I very much get like, I got to do stuff, but sometimes I do need to sit down and rest during the day. So I do need to take a little nap or just like a little 20-minute meditation just to like kind of like align it back so I'm not like running super hot. I had so much energy that entire day, and I finally felt like for years, you guys, I was like, oh my gosh, I finally feel like my energy is back, because I was feeling so drained in that corporate job. I was feeling so exhausted. I feel like I couldn't access that side of me. And then now that sort of like energy and all that stuff has finally come back, and it's taking me so long. I feel so happy because I'm so glad that I trusted my gut, that I kept following it, because I knew that I had so much to offer. I knew I had so many gifts to give. And I felt like the way that my life was operating was just a fraction of it. Like I was like, there's just a little bit that I'm being able to give and receive here. And I knew my capacity had so much more. Finally, when I was able to really trust all that and keep leaning into it, then I was like, oh my gosh, I finally have all my energy back. And it just felt so great to be able to like feel all that, to feel so lit up, and just to be like in that mindset, and just to be able to like actually have more of that for people. And that way, like I can be in service for others, right? But that took a long time to get there. Like I was so exhausted. I was so tired. I had to leave that corporate job. I ended up being so burnt out from that job. I had to go on a leave. I had crying. I was like trying to figure out my inward. I was going to hypnotherapy for my limiting beliefs. I got Akashic Records readings. There was so much that was upheavaling from that for me to then get to this expansion upgrade place of like, now I finally feel like my energy is back, and it feels like it's mine. It feels true to me. I finally feel like this energy resonates with me. It's like an extension of me, instead of me trying to perform, me trying to put on this mask of doing what society is telling us to do. I was like, finally, I feel like this feels like myself. To show you guys that sometimes it's not going to look exactly how you think it's going to look. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit of like, oh gosh, like why is this feeling so hard right now? Why am I crying? Why am I like releasing so much? But just know on the other side of that is where you're meant to go. It's where your path is leading you to. And you don't want to skip those parts, because sometimes when you're in those parts where they do feel very low, it's like, then you can actually experience the high so much more vibrantly, and you can feel so much more like, wow, I did that. sat down, I did the work, I worked through it. So sometimes it is kind of nice to have some of that like progression to see how things grow and to see yourself grow, to see yourself be able to get to that next level because it is so exciting. And sometimes that in between is so messy. It can feel so hard. And like, trust me, you guys, I have sat there, I have been in that place, and it is not fun. I didn't love it when I was in it. Now looking back, I was so grateful that I went through all of that because now I'm here to help people and I can understand what sort of path that you're walking because I was also in those shoes and I had to navigate it. Like I had to figure out all the people who could help me. Like I had to really walk it alone. And it was something that feels very scary at the time, but I think I was meant to do that so then I could help everyone else who's also going through a similar life transition because it can be really hard. Those life transitions are just the pathways to an energetic upgrade. And so I know I went off on a little tangent there, but so the first one is again, needing more rest. And then the second one is if you wake up or if you're just feeling like you need to clean out your space, if you just like are like, I got to clean out my closet. I just need to go through drawers. I just need to get rid of stuff. That is also a sign that you are calling in things because you are clearing out the energy to bring in more. You are releasing the things that no longer are feeling aligned so you can make room for the things that are. So anytime that you're like, I just got to clean out all the clothes in my closet, go donate the clothes, like go to get rid of all that stuff that you just feel like it's not like needed for you anymore. Just trust that. If you're like looking at something, you're like, that just has to get out of here. It's like, great, get rid of it. Another one for me was also feeling very, a lot of wave of emotions. So I was feeling very irritable. I was feeling very angry. A lot of frustration was coming up again. And I was feeling very like, oh, like, why is this feeling a little like there's some friction here? And so I always feel like anytime that there's a friction, it always just tells me like, okay, where I'm at now is of course where I'm meant to be, but I'm feeling that friction because there's like another side that's trying to come through. There's like another sort of either opportunity, there's another place, there's another path that I'm meant to go on. And that's kind of why sometimes I'm feeling a little bit of friction, where if I'm feeling a little frustrated and like where I'm personally at, I'm like, okay, there's just something that is trying to like come through. I also have been feeling a lot more of an inward space where I want to just tap into my intuition, where I want to like meditate more. I want to like relax more. And so that is also another way too, where sometimes that's how I personally get more information for my intuition is because when I lay down, when I relax, when I tap into that, then that is how I personally get downloads for information to know like, okay, this is my next step. And sometimes like I will get information the moment that I open my eyes, like sometimes something will come through. Sometimes I'll get a song that I might need to have. Sometimes it'll be a phrase, sometimes it'll be a word. Those will come through the moment that I wake up. And so if you are also sort of like, that's how your intuition speaks to you, start to notice if there's like a theme of any of those that are coming through, or start to write them down. And sometimes our dreams can also feel so vivid during this time. Like you have a very vivid dream and sometimes you wake up and you don't remember all of it, but you can remember bits and pieces too. The signs of an energetic upgrade are rest, wanting to clean things out, any like emotions you're feeling. So it could be like anger, frustration. If you are feeling like you're wanting more of an inward type of space, if you're getting any messages through your intuition, if you are also feeling like, okay, I need to really pay attention to everything that's happening. And so you're just feeling like more in tune with things. And then the last one I feel like is a lot of like releasing. I think like that's the big one where you're like, I crying all the time. Like for the last week. So after I had that, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so excited. I like had my little generator energy. Then I was like dragged back and I was like, oh no. It's like just feeling so frustrated and irritable. And then after that, I was crying all the time. I was like at the drop of a hat or something, I was like just bawling. And I was like, what is going on? And I, of course, kind of figured out the messaging with that. But I was just crying and I was like, why? I was just feeling so like the littlest thing was just going to make me cry. Like I would just sit there and think about it and I would just want to bawl my eyes out. So anytime that you feel like you're releasing stuff, either it's tears or if you're feeling like you're just trying to get all these emotions out, or again, as we were talking about cleaning stuff out earlier, if you're also feeling like this person in my life, this situation in my life, this opportunity in my life, anything that is feeling like, ooh, like I just need to release that, is also a sign that something else is coming through. And it's not always going to be what we think. It's not always going to come through in a way of like, this is how my mind is operating with it. So that's why when you're going through this, it's just to stay open and expanded. That is the biggest lesson that I have been having, you guys. I realize that I have been operating on an independent level for a very long time. And it's very funny because this is really what came to a head for me. Because before, as I shared on some podcast episodes too, and on some of my videos on social media, I was getting these messages that were coming through, right? Like I had some examples in real life where like when my grocery cart had stopped and then this man came out to come help me to push it back in. So there were things that were happening, but I don't think I was fully getting the message or the full picture of it until this past week. And it just really made me realize, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how much I may have been blocking receiving because I was so gripping onto my independence without even realizing. I wasn't allowing others to come in and to help. And not in a way of like, I was able to ask for help. I was still able to receive it, but I think it was just something that I was subconsciously doing. It was just something that I was just so used to. Like I would just hold the door open for myself at places. I would just feel like I need to, figure it out on my own, or like even at my part-time job too. Sometimes I would like be doing more of like the tasks that we were meant to be doing instead of letting my coworker help share them. I was noticing this was rippling into every aspect of my life and even in relationships because I have been single for quite a while now. And I also was going through a lot and a lot of transformation and transition times. And so I don't think I was ready to hold a relationship. But I realized, I'm like, wow, I was gripping onto my independence, you guys. I was probably blocking so many men that I was maybe having conversations with or just out and about. I was kind of like holding back from that because I wasn't allowing myself to receive it. I wasn't allowing those conversations just to kind of flow. And here's the thing, you guys, the receiving, it feels so small sometimes. Like it can be so like just minuscule. When I was on the trail this past weekend, I was walking and I was like, I'm just open to receiving. I'm just open to it. Whatever needs to come through in this moment, I'm open to it. I kid you not, this guy literally biked past me and he turns around and he goes, love the fit. I was just like, wow, thank you. And I just allowed myself to receive it. It's just these little moments where it can be the smallest things of people doing stuff. Or for example, too, I was walking on the trail yesterday and I walking back to my car and I crossed paths with this guy and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. And he kind of gave me that like dab up, like, hey, like kind of like, what's up sort of thing. And I was just like, wow. It's like, I think before I'm sure this stuff was happening, but I think I was just so tunnel vision that I don't think I was like seeing any of this happening. I think now that I've been in more of a receiving mode, I'm like, okay, now it's time to really bring this in, not only in my business, which is where I was like, wow, okay, I really need some help to come in for this next phase because that's part of like where I've been knowing that I'm going to have an energetic upgrade is because I can just sense and feel that there's another phase that's coming through for this business. There's just so much that is ready to evolve with this, to expand. I got to have the foundation, the scaffolding before I can expand upon this, right? And I also need the help to come through for this. I want the help and I'm allowing it and I'm accepting. I think I was building things more in an independent mind instead of like, where are the ways that these things can expand and grow to bring more in and to bring more people in and to allow it all to come through. Because that's the thing. It's like, I can't be building community on my own. Community is a group job. Community is a job where people can be doing this together. We can bring it up together. I've been like channeling a lot of a new phase that's coming through. And so I initially had thought, oh, it was just more so for my business. And then once I was starting to lean more into the receiving, it was like, oh no, this is like a realization where I was like, this is rippling through every area of my life. And I was like, oh my gosh. That was the other thing too, is like relationships where I was like, oh my gosh, it's been there and it's been kind of hiding in there. And I almost equated like needing help or asking for help with failure. And I was like, there it is. There's the limiting belief. I had a situation that happened and had someone offer something to me. And I was just crying when someone finally offered. And I think I felt like my nervous system felt like I could finally relax. Oh, I think I was almost like screaming on the inside for help. But I think it was more of me listening to it and me realizing to allow it to come in because I almost feel like I knew that, but I think I just kept braving it and pushing it through and kind of like that masculine energy still, right? Where I was like, I'm just going to keep being independent. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep going. And then I think I kind of came to that halt where I was like, pause. No, I can't keep going at the rate that I'm going because it is feeling very hard for me to keep going at this rate on my own. When this person had offered, I was feeling guilty. I felt shame. I felt embarrassment. And the word that was coming through was, I feel like a failure. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, okay. I caught that limiting belief. I ended up writing in a journal and I was like, wait, let me understand, unpack this thought. It's been hidden in there and it's been holding on and running this kind of programming that's outdated in my brain. And that's all to say, you guys, for an energetic upgrade, it's just sometimes outdated programming, right? Sometimes there's just some energy. There's some things that are ready to be moved through that is ready to get you to that next phase. That's ready to get you to that next sign. And it's a good sign. It's a good sign when you were why am I feeling crying? Why am I feeling tired? Why is all this happening? That is actually a good sign because it shows that you are here, you are present, you are doing the work because you're ready to be able to call all this in. And sometimes it's going to be that little messy in between, that messy middle. And so when you're in that time, it's also being open to receiving, being open to allow all this to come in for you, to allow all the people to come and share their gifts, to be able to help, and to help can come in from so many different forms. It can look so many different ways. And just to be open and receptive to that, because I think that's the biggest key is sometimes, at least for me, I was very much blocking a lot of that because again, I was kind of gripping onto more of that, I'm independent, I can figure it out. And when there's an action of someone's able to give and receive for you, then you're able to kind of complete that transaction of love because that's what it is. Being able to share and give that is just an action of love. And so you're able to call that in and that's also an action of love for you because you love yourself so much. You're able to bring that in. And so this is just a reminder that you guys, that there is so much out there that is ready for you. And sometimes you're going to have to go through that messy middle to get to the energetic upgrade. So if you were also in that season of crying, just feeling heavy, just feeling things are just feeling a little sticky, they're just feeling hard, that is always a good sign because it's a sign that you were evolving and you were growing. That is what gets you to the expansiveness. That is what gets you to really achieving and calling it in and bringing it in. To get there, just follow your intuition. Sometimes we get stuff that is our mind just gets so clustered with stuff. Sometimes we just get our limiting beliefs, our stories, our conditioning. There's so much that comes in our self-critical talk, and just being able to look at that and then to be hold on, is this actually me or is this something that feels outdated? And then sometimes we can make it so simple. Sometimes we don't have to go and unpack all those things. Sometimes you just got to move energy around. Sometimes you might actually need to go in and okay, let me understand this limiting belief a little bit more. Sometimes you just need to sit with it. There's so many ways you can do it. And sometimes it doesn't always have to be so dramatic and hard. Sometimes it can feel so light and easy, just allowing that stuff to come through, because I really do feel that there is so much energy that is coming through right now for us. I really do feel that. I feel like things are really turning in the sense where there's going to be so much more emphasis on individual sovereignty. So really honoring you and your intuition and your own path and your own guidance and trusting you. I think that is really the energy that is going to be coming through into 2027. And there's so much that is shifting, but I do feel like it just feels big. It feels expansive. And there just feels like there's so much that is coming for everyone. And so it can be so simple, you guys. Sometimes we can just get into the little mind stories of what about this? How's this going to happen? How's it going to come through? And just rest and trust and allow those things to come in. And so if you are feeling a little bit of you're in that in-between phase, just rest and know that you are being prepared. You are always guided and you are being prepared for everything that is coming through. That is what I'm going to be doing during this next month. I can already sense that I have an energetic upgrade coming. I think some things are going to be shifting a little bit in the community, but good things. A lot of things will still be there, but they're just going to evolve in some different ways. I personally feel very excited about it. I know that there's going to be a time where I'm going to need to rest and to let a lot of this come through and to really bring in a lot of that creativity. And so for me, that's really slowing down, allowing that to come through, because again, for this community, for this space, I really want to make sure that things feel like they are true for me, but also for you guys. I am giving you things that you can take and you can expand in your lives and you can grow and you can have all these wonderful, amazing things because you're meant to do that. We're not meant to stay small and stay scared. You are meant to be brave. You're meant to be bold. You're meant to chase after your dreams. And I want to help you guys get there. That's why we gather here. We're in community. We're here. We're doing it together because I believe in you. Even if people in your life, even if your family or friends, people are like, that girl is being crazy. That man is off his rocker. Like, what is he doing? Doesn't matter who you are. I believe in you. Even if I don't personally know you, I trust in your vision. I trust in your dreams, and I know that you will get there too. I can feel it and I can sense it, because if you have the determination and that willpower, you're going to get there. Just stay consistent. Just trust the process. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, we'll be taking a little bit of a break. So I will be back towards the end of September, and I'm sure I'll have so much to really share. I'm going to feel so excited during this time off to really be able to absorb so much more for you guys and to be able to come back and share all these stories, share all these synchronicities and signs. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we will chat soon. Okay. Sending you guys so much love and abundance.